Yo, what's up, everybody? Austin here, Luna, your friendly neighborhood storyteller, commentator, moron, whatever you want to call me. I get a lot of comments on my videos every single day being like, yo, Luna has the biggest set of plot armor I've ever seen in my life. And, that got me thinking about all the times that I've gotten away with a lot of stuff just because, I don't know, I guess I was the main character. I don't know. I don't know why I got away with a lot of stuff. But this story I'm about to tell today is definitely one of those moments where I'm like, how the hell did I possibly get away with that? Now, before I get into it, I just want to say, before anything else, don't punch police officers, don't punch people, don't assault anybody, okay? Violence is not the answer. Unless you absolutely have to hit somebody out of self-defense or something, I don't condone violence. I just have to say that because, I don't want to set an example here, and also I don't want YouTube to think I'm out here promoting, bad behavior, because I'm not. I try and make sure at the beginning and end of all my stories there's a lesson learned, I try and make sure, but I want to make sure I did this in the very beginning. But today's story, it's a wild one, it's a crazy one, it's a bunch of stories in one, it's a long one. Not sure exactly how long this is going to be, but if I had to guess, it's probably going to get near an hour. So yeah, strap in, get some popcorn, leave a like on the video if you enjoy this, and if you want more long story times. Like I said in the last video, we've hit 3K likes on pretty much every video in the last week. So if we can hit that again, that'd be insane. But yeah, guys, I'll stop yapping in the intro here, and I will get into the story. Let's jump into it. So today's story time all takes place back when I was 15. Pretty long time ago. Pretty young Luna story time. Now, I don't know why, but at age 15, I was really, really, not a great kid. I was a misbehaving kind of kid, okay? Not sure why. I really don't. I was just extra hyper at that age. I think my ADHD was going a little extra crazy that year, and I just was misbehaving quite a bit. Now, back then, I really didn't like going to school. I didn't like school at all my whole life, to be honest. Besides elementary and a little bit of middle school, I didn't really like school that much. But for some reason at 15 is really when I just really didn't want to go, right? And also, that's when I started to do YouTube, and it was starting to kind of pick up some steam, so I was really motivated and focused on that, and I was just getting, a little bit antsy, I would say, right? Now, one day, I get woken up for school at 15 years old by my mom, and I was miserable. I did not want to go. I didn't want to go one bit, but I rolled my ass out of bed, took a shower, got ready because I had to. And I actually remember when I got out of the shower, I had the towel around my waist or whatever, and I went to my room and I was changing, and I noticed on my left abdomen, I had this burn or scratch or something. I don't know what it was. It looked like something had happened, and I tried to use it as an excuse to get out of school that day. I went to the kitchen with my shirt off, and I was like, Mom, I think I'm getting an infection. Can I go to the doctor today? And she was like, no, that's not an infection. It looks fine. You look like you scratched yourself. And I was like, oh, okay. And she didn't let me stay home. So that was a failed attempt. But anyway, I got ready, did my thing, right? And got on the bus, went to school. The school day started off like any other normal school day. I got through my first couple periods, first couple classes with no issues. Really, the whole day was mostly normal until towards the end. So we're going to fast forward a little bit. After lunchtime. So lunchtime for me every day was kind of a recharging period. It was a 45-minute period where I could hang out with my friends and kind of forget about school for a little bit. And when that was over with, it kind of felt like, I got some energy back, kind of got some happiness back. I was less bored, and I was more motivated to finish the day because I knew that the day was more than half over at this point. Once lunch was done, I knew that the day was almost done, So after lunch, I had study hall, okay? And that was even better because study hall right after lunch, that wouldn't happen every day. My schedule would change almost every day at my school. Some days I'd have study hall in the morning. Some days I'd have it in the afternoon. Some days I'd have, history in the morning, history in the afternoon. It would always change, right? And some days I wouldn't have study hall. So on this day, to have study hall right after lunch was amazing, such good luck. Because that's basically 2 periods back to back where I get to just chill. Because my study hall teacher was really cool. And she would always let me just do whatever I wanted. She was one of those teachers that understood that study hall, while it is meant for studying and, doing schoolwork, there's some students that want to just lay their head down, that maybe didn't sleep a full 8 hours, or maybe had a shit day, that want to relax. And she was always really cool about that. And she'd always give me a break and let me listen to my music and stuff. Well, on this day, no one warned me that the study hall teacher for the day was a substitute. Yeah, a bunch of my friends that had study hall earlier that day didn't tell me. So I walked in the study hall room after lunch, and I see this guy sitting up there who I'd never seen before. And I've had substitutes in the past for study hall and other classes that just aren't very cool. And I was really hoping that today would be a different day and that this substitute would be the coolest substitute in the world. And unfortunately, I was wrong, because the minute I walked in the room and I saw this guy, he stands up and he goes, "Okay, everybody, take your seats. Don't know what your other teacher lets you guys do in here, but I'm not going to let you dilly-dally the whole period. You got to actually do your work. And no phones and no music." And you just know you're in for a great class when your substitute teacher is using the phrase dilly-dally. Like, I was like, oh, here we go, man. This is just going to be great. So I sit down. I'm in a pissed off mood because I know that I have to actually do something this period and not just relax. But at the same time, I was like, whatever, dude, it's school. I'm not surprised that I have to actually do some work, whatever, right? So I ended up going into my backpack and I pulled out my homework that I got that day in math. And I started trying to do that because I thought, you know what, I can get my homework done here. That way I don't have to try and do it at home. Because 9 times out of 10, when I would take homework home, I wouldn't do it. I'd just get on Call of Duty and I'd be like, oh, I'll do it in the morning. I'll wake up early and do it before school. And then I wouldn't wake up early. And then I'd be rushing in class the next day, trying to do it in class in 10 minutes. And it would never work. And I'd get failed for that, assignment. So I pull open some math work, right? And I'm doing it. Well, trying to do it, I should say, because I was probably failing every single problem. I just wasn't very good at math that year. But, I'm doing my thing, and the study hall teacher is kind of roaming around, hovering over everybody, making sure they're doing their work. And I look to my left, and I see that the person sitting next to me has their earbuds in, and they're doing their classwork while listening to music. And the teacher walks right by him, and he looks at, the student with the earbuds in, and they actually talked for a second about the schoolwork he was doing. I could overhear their conversation, and they were talking about, whose class it was or something. And after that, the teacher walked away. So I thought, okay, I'm able to wear earbuds as long as I keep working. Because after this, I actually looked around, and there was other students wearing them as well. So I thought, okay, if I have my headphones in, as long as I keep working, I will be 100% fine. So I pop my earbuds in and I start listening to my music while doing my math work. And a minute later, I hear over my music, "Hey, you." And I look up and it's my study hall teacher pointing to me from his desk. And he's doing a motion with his hands to take my earbuds out. So I take them out and I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "What did I say when you came in here? No music." And I was like, "I'm sorry. I saw everyone else listening to music and you weren't saying anything about that. So I thought I was good." And he goes, "Well, that goes for everybody in here, okay? Not just you. Everyone take your headphones out." So we did. We took our headphones out. Everyone looked kind of pissed. I remember one of my friends gave me a dirty look, like it was my fault that everyone got caught. But it was like, dude, I don't know how he just saw me with them. There was literally probably 7 other kids with them in. And literally talked to someone before me that had them in and didn't see him somehow. Anyway, whatever. So we take our earbuds out. We go back to doing our work in silence. And my friend comes over to me during class. And he asked me if he can borrow a pen, because I guess the assignment he was doing had to be in pen. So I was like, okay, sure. So I go to give him a pen. And once again, my teacher looks up at his desk and he's like, "Hey, you." And he points to me again. And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Why are you talking to your buddy? Why is he at your desk?" And I was like, "He needs a pen." So I was giving him a pen. He goes, "All right, well, hurry up." I'm like, okay. So I grab the pen. I give it to my homie. And I was like, "All right, man, good luck. Just give it back at the end of class." And then my teacher goes, "Why are you still talking?" And I was like, dude, I was telling him to give it back at the end of class. I'm not talking. I'm literally just telling him one thing before he goes back to his desk. I'm not having a conversation. And he's like, "Sound like a conversation to me." And I was like, well, I don't know what to say. Get your hearing checked. And he did not like that one bit. He stood up at his desk and slammed his hands down on the desk. And he goes, "What did you just say to me?" Now look, what I said was a little bit attitude driven, was a little bit disrespectful to be like, "Get your hearing checked" to this guy. Yeah, it was kind of a shithead thing to say. I shouldn't have said that. Definitely a little bit of an attitude-driven statement, right? But what's done was done. Couldn't take that back, And he slams his hands down at his desk and he's like, "What'd you say to me?" And I literally just doubled down. I was like, I said, "Get your hearing checked," because I wasn't having a conversation with him. I was just giving him a pen and telling him when to give it back. And he goes, "Well, listen here. If anyone in here needs a pen, you can come to me. I have them in a cup at the front desk. But I can already tell by the way you were listening to your music that you just wanted an excuse to talk to your friend." And I was like, "An excuse?" He literally came up to my desk asking for a pen because he needed it for his assignment because it's due in pen. So I gave him one. That's it. We weren't talking about anything else except this pen. okay, you trust me? And he's like, no, I don't. And I was like, okay, well, that's your problem. I'm going to go back to working now. And he's going to go back to working now. And you'll see that there was nothing going on. And he gets pissed off at me. He's like, I don't like your attitude right now. I don't like the way you're talking to me. You don't talk to your teachers like this. This is disrespectful. I was like, okay, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm a little frustrated because you're accusing me of something I'm not doing. He's like, well, you're being really disrespectful. I was like, okay, I'm sorry, right? I tried to apologize and make amends with this guy, even though I didn't like him as my study hall teacher that day. I did kind of understand that I was being a little bit of a dick. So I said, I'm sorry, right? And he goes, no, sorry's not going to cut it. And I didn't know what that meant. Like, what do you mean sorry's not going to cut it? What else can I do besides apologize? Like, cook you a fucking 5-star dinner? Like, I can't do anything at that moment other than say sorry. So I asked him, I was like, what do you mean sorry's not going to cut it? Like, what else can I do? He goes, move seats. I don't want you sitting near him anymore because my friend kind of sat close to me. And I was like, okay, where? He goes, over there. And he points to the other side of the room. So I had to get up and move to the other side of the room, sit down over there next to some random girl. And I didn't care. Like, the seats I was in to begin with weren't that close to my friends. Like, yeah, my friend sat kind of close, but it wasn't close enough to have like a conversation or anything. So yeah, I moved seats. And believe it or not, my new seats were actually closer to one of my other friends. So he kind of did me a favor. But anyway, after this, we go back to study hall, right? We go back to being quiet. I'm trying to do my math work. And out of nowhere, like 5 minutes later, this teacher grabs his little like rolly chair from his front desk. He rolls it over to my desk and this girl's desk that we were sitting at. And he sits down right across from me and just sits down staring at me. And I was like, what are you doing? He goes, making sure you're doing your work. I was like, you can see that I'm writing stuff down. Like, I'm literally working. He goes, I don't trust you. I was like, okay, are you going to help me with my work then? He goes, no, you got it on your own. I was like, so you're a teacher that doesn't help students with their work is what I'm hearing. And he goes, yeah, I guess you could say that. I was like, so you're just going to sit across from me and stare at me and make me uncomfortable while I work to make sure I'm working? That's your logic here? He goes, yeah, it is. I go, well, then no offense, sir, but you were a terrible teacher. And he goes, you know what? Say one more thing. You'll be spending the rest of this period in the main office with the principal. I go, honestly, my principal could probably help me with my homework a lot better than you could. So, okay. I started packing my stuff up. And he goes, I didn't say you're going. I didn't say you could go. I said, say one more thing and you're going. And I was like, no, I'm making the choice. I'm going up there. He goes, you can't do that. I was like, yes, I can. I can go to the main office whenever I want. It's open at all times. I can go up there and talk to the counselor. I can go up there and talk to the principal. Like, if something needs to be talked about, I can go up there. And he's like, not unless I say you can. And I was like, okay, well, can I? He goes, no. And I was like, okay, what would the punishment be if I walked out of class right now? And then my friend chimes in. He goes, I think he'd send you to the main office. That's usually what happens when you try and skip class. And I was like, okay, bye. And I turned around and I walked out of the room. And yeah, I just walked up to the main office. I sat down in the waiting room. The lady there was wondering why I was there. She's like, why are you up here? Like, I haven't gotten a call about you coming up here. And I was like, I want to talk to the principal. And she goes, you want to talk to the principal? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, that's a first for you, because I've been up there before and I never wanted to go up there. And it was really true. Like, I didn't usually want to be up there, but this teacher was just like so on my nerves that I would rather be in the principal's office talking to my principal. So like 5 minutes later, my principal comes out and calls me into the office. And at the time, I actually had a different principal. So usually I had this other person. But around this time, they were out on like leave for like 6 months or something. So we had this temporary one. And she was actually really cool. Like, I actually enjoyed talking to her. She was like very chill. She kind of reminded me of my grandma. Like, just very, very nice lady, right? And I go in there, I sit down, and she goes, Austin, what are you doing up here? Like, I heard that no one called for you. Like, you just came up here on your own. And I was like, yeah, there was a substitute in my study hall today. And he is just like unbearable. I can't deal with him. And she was like, what? What happened? And I told her everything that happened from start to finish. And I didn't, make it in my favor or anything. I told the full truth. Like, I told the parts about me being kind of a dick. And she was like, look, I think you both were being a little bit immature, okay? I think you giving him attitude and, being rude wasn't okay. But I also think him sitting in front of you and just staring at you and not offering help is also not okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm glad you at least see that. Because that was the part that like made me the most mad about this guy. I didn't care that he was accusing me of yapping to my friends and like moved my seat and stuff. I just didn't like being put under pressure, and him sitting at my desk with everyone kind of looking at us and him staring at me while I worked without offering to help me or anything, just staring at me. like breathing down my neck essentially. I didn't like that. I didn't want that. So I end up sitting in the principal's office for the rest of that period, just chilling there, right? Doing the math work. And at the end of the period, my study hall teacher actually came up to the principal's office to talk to us, which apparently wasn't planned because when he walked in the room, my principal literally said, "Oh, hey, like, what's up? What are you doing here?" And he was like, "Oh, I'm just here to like talk to you about Austin." And she goes, "Oh, I already talked to him about it, but like if you have anything to add, sure, let me know." And he was like, "Yeah, I do have something to add. He's a problem, okay? I said within the first 5 minutes of my class that music was not allowed. And I see him with his earbuds in, okay? Listen to his music, jam into his tunes while he's doing his work." And I interrupted him. I was like, "Keyword, while I'm doing my work." He's like, "Doesn't matter. I said not allowed." But yeah, I see him with his headphones in, doing his thing, right? And then I see all these other students with their headphones in now. He started that. And then I got pissed. I was like, "Yo, you are lying right now. I saw all these other people with their headphones in, and that's why I put mine in." And he goes, "No, I looked around the room. There was nobody listening to music until you started to." So now he's just making shit up. He's just lying to my principal. And my principal looks at me and she's like, "Is that true? Like, did you start that?" And I was like, "No, he's lying to you." And she goes, "Doesn't matter, okay? Listen, like, what's done is done. Austin already came up here. He already talked to me. I'm not going to give him a punishment because he already had to sit up here for the rest of class and talk to me. And, you know, it doesn't seem like it's worthy of a punishment." And the substitute starts arguing with her about it. He's like, "Not worthy of a punishment? He was literally on his phone during class, and he gave me a bunch of attitude and disrespected me in front of my students. Like, that's not okay." And I was like, "I'm literally one of your students. What do you mean?" And then my principal chimes in and she's like, "Look, all right, fine. Austin, 2 days lunch detention with me." And I was like, "Are you serious? Like, really?" And she's like, "I'm sorry." And I was like, "No, come on. Like, don't do that." And she's like, "No, I'm sorry." And I was like, "Okay, I'm leaving then." And I start getting up and I grab my bag. And she's like, "What do you mean you're leaving?" I was like, "I'm leaving school. I'm walking out the building. I'm going to Dunkin' Donuts. I'm getting a donut. And I'm leaving there. And I'm going home." And she was like, "You can't do that." And I go, "I have legs. Watch me." And I start walking out the door. And she's like, "Austin, stop it. Austin, if you walk out that door, it's going to be a lot more trouble than just lunch detention." And I turned around. I was like, "Okay, you don't want me to leave? Then don't give me lunch detention. I don't deserve it. Like, I don't." And she was like, "Austin, you were on your phone. Like, you do." And I was like, literally 7 other kids were on their phone. Probably more, okay? Like, that's not fair to me. Just to give me lunch detention because I was on my phone listening to music while working just like everybody else was. And this fucking substitute goes, "Yeah, well, you started it." I was like, "I didn't fucking start anything. Literally, you talked to somebody next to me that was on their phone before me listening to music, and you are somehow so blind that you didn't see the fucking headphones in his ears. I don't know how. Literally, the cord was on the desk on the paper he was working on that you guys were talking about, and you somehow didn't see it. But whatever, man." And I start walking out the door again. And once again, my principal's like, "Austin, come back, come back." And I ignored it. I just walked out, went to the front doors of the school, opened them shits, and I walked right out to school. I was like, "Fuck that, I'm done." Now looking back, was I kind of being a little bitch? Kinda. Yeah, I probably should have just like, just went about my day after this and ignored it and not let it get to me. But I don't know. I was 15. I was filled with, teenage emotions, I guess. I don't know. I let it get the best of me and I was like, "Fuck that, I'm walking out." So I walked out of school, I went across the street to Dunkin' Donuts, I grabbed a donut and a coffee, and I only had a little bit of time because I knew that the school cop was probably already called and he'd probably be there any minute. So I got my donut, got my coffee, dipped out of there. I walked like a block down the street to this like abandoned school. It wasn't really abandoned, it was just like getting construction done on it. So it was abandoned temporarily. And in the back like area of that school, there was a really giant parking lot that like nobody used. So I just went back there and I sat down on the concrete. I started eating my donut, chilling there. And I was behind the school building, so nobody on the main road could see me. Like if the school cop was driving up and down the road, he wouldn't be able to see me. So I thought this was a good spot to chill for a while and eat my food and chill, right? So I'm chilling there, doing my thing. And I ended up sitting there for about 20 minutes and I just like scrolled my phone for a little bit. And the next thing I know, my phone starts ringing. And it's my mom. And I already knew what this was going to be. So I answered it. And I was like, "Hey, Mom." And she goes, "Austin, why am I hearing that you left school, that you walked out?" And I was like, "I'll tell you why." And I gave her the whole story, right? And I don't know if she just like wasn't in the mood for my shit on this day or if she was just like busy at work, but she was surprisingly like not very upset with me. And she was just like, "Look, just go back to school, please. Go back to school." And I was like, "Okay, fine. I'll finish this and I'll go." And she's like, "Thank you. Because if you don't, they're going to be taking you home in a cop car. Like the school cop's going to drive you home. And then your punishment's going to be a lot worse. You'll probably get suspended out of school or something." And I was like, okay, fine, I'll go back. So after this, I hang out with her. I took a few more sips of my coffee, sat there on the concrete for about 5 more minutes, just scrolling Twitter, checking out YouTube and stuff, enjoying my last 5 minutes of peace before I had to go back into my school and probably get told that I'm getting like in-school suspension or something, or like 9 lunch detentions or like 10 after-school detentions or something, some punishment, right, that I wasn't gonna like. So after that, like 5 more minutes of chilling there, I got up, I started walking out of the parking lot, I went back to the sidewalk, and I started walking up the main road that led to my school. Now, I got about 5 minutes into the walk, I was almost at school, when I see a cop car coming down the street right towards me. And he was driving pretty fast. He was driving pretty quick. No sirens on or anything. But as he approaches me, he slams on his brakes, like skirts his car, jumps out, and it's the school cop. And I'm like, oh shit, it's him. And he proceeds to start running at me, full speed, like really fast. And he doesn't look like he's gonna stop. So I start backing up and I like put my hands out. I'm like, hey man, like calm down. And he proceeds to dive at me and tackle me. I don't know if he thought I was gonna run or something. I didn't think I was giving any indicators that I was gonna run, but he fucking tackles me and hurts the fuck out of my left arm, dude. I hurt like a bitch. And I was yelling at him while I was on the ground. I was like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? Like, I wasn't gonna run. Like, what are you doing? And then he proceeds to knee me in the side of my, like, fucking ribs, dude. I don't know why. Once again, don't know. Now, I didn't feel like getting abused by a police officer, so I rolled to my right, and I got up as fast as I could, like, out of his grip. He wasn't very good at keeping me down, I guess. And he gets up, and he starts trying to charge me again. And this time, I was like, fuck that. And I swung on him. Wasn't trying to get tackled again or kneed in the ribs and get my ribs cracked or something. And I swung. And honestly, I'm not going to lie. I swung with the intention to not hit him. I didn't want to punch a police officer because then I'd be like really, really fucked. But yeah, I swung, which I guess isn't any better because you're still swinging on an officer and they'll see that as trying to assault them. But I was literally intending to miss. I just thought if I swung, he'd back up and give me some room to like run away, right? But no, when I went to swing, he dove at me again, and he dove right into my fist. Like, it was like a 50-50 effort. It was like me swinging and then him diving right into the punch. I think he hurt himself more. I think there was more force in his dive into my fist than the punch I threw. So yeah, he hurt himself pretty bad. He punched himself right in the side of the face. He also missed the tackle because I backed up, and he proceeded to fall right onto his fucking stomach. And he gets up and starts charging at me again, and now I'm running. I'm running down the street full speed, as fast as I can, from the school police officer. Like, I'm just hauling ass. And luckily, he wasn't very fast on foot, because I lost him very quick. He had to turn around and run back to his car and get into it, because he couldn't keep up with me on foot. And I ended up running all the way back to school. And when I got in there, I ran to, like, whatever class I was supposed to be in. I just sat down and acted like nothing happened. I remember my teacher was like, you're really late, Austin. Like, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I had an emergency. I had to use the bathroom. And she was like, okay, don't let it happen again. And yeah, I just sat down, catching my breath, because I just ran all the way back to school. And I just knew that at any moment, I was going to get an announcement on the announcements being like Austin in the main office, or that the door was going to open to my class and it'd be the school cop and my principal or something. And literally, it was exactly what I thought. The door opened like 2 minutes later, and it was the school cop looking furious and my principal. And my principal did like the come here motion with her finger. And I got up and I walked out. And everyone was staring at me, like confused why I was getting, escorted out of the classroom. And I got walked up to the principal's office. I sat down in there, and my principal and the school cop just sat down. And the school cop looked at me and he goes, do you think you're funny? And I was like, no. He goes, punching a police officer? You're done. Like, you're done, buddy. Like, I'm going to make sure that you get treated as an adult and you get charged. And I was like, please don't. He goes, nah, it's done. Meanwhile, the principal's grabbing the phone and calling my mom and telling her what happened. And like 10 minutes later, my mom comes in to the school. And when she walks into the main office, she was hanging up a phone call. And I didn't know who she was talking to. She hangs up the phone. She sits down next to me, and she immediately turns her attention to the principal and the school cop, and she's like, I am so sorry about what my son did. And then I interrupted. I was like, listen, I didn't even try and hit him. He jumped into my fist. And the cop goes, yeah, I jumped into your fist. You didn't punch me. I just happened to put my face in your fist. I was like, that's literally what you did. And he goes, that's not how punching works, buddy. You threw your fist, I got hit. And honestly, I just didn't even argue because there was no way I was going to convince everybody that like he got himself hurt by diving into it. Because at the end of the day, I still threw the punch. So, you know, yeah, it was my fault at the end of the day, I guess. But anyway, my mom ends up saying like, sorry again. And the school cop goes, I don't care. I don't want to hear your apologies. I want your son put in a juvenile detention center and I'm going to make sure it happens. And my mom's like, I don't think we need to do that. Like, come on, please. And he's like, no, I think we do need to do that. I think we do. I think your son needs to learn his lesson because hitting a police officer is unacceptable. And my mom's like, I agree, it is. But also, like, he's only 15. He was scared. Like, I'm not saying that's okay by any means, but, you know, take into account how old he is. He's still learning. And he's like, no excuse. And my mom keeps talking to him for like 15 minutes or so. Like, they're just talking, going back and forth, not really getting anywhere, right? And then all of a sudden, there's a knock on the office door. And the door opens, and it's another police officer. But this one I've seen before. This one I know, kind of, because my mom knows him. He's like a family friend, and he's like a higher up on the police department of my town. And my mom like grew up with him. They like went to school together, and they've been friends for decades and decades, right? So he comes in, and he's like, what's going on? And the other cop knows him, and he's like, oh, like, Jim, what are you doing here? And they're talking, and I was like, what the hell's going on right now? Like, what? Why is my mom's friend here? And then it hits me. I'm like, oh. That's my mom's friend, and she was on the phone with him when she came in the office. Like, that's who she was on the phone with, getting off the phone with, right? That has to be why he's here. Essentially, my mom was, like, using her connections to call in a favor. And Jim, her friend, I'm just going to call him Jim. That's not his real name, but it's an easier thing to say than her friend. He comes in the room, and he pulls the other cop aside, and he essentially goes, hey, man, like, I know you're upset, rightfully so, but we're going to let this one go, okay? And this cop's like, what? No, we're not. He punched me, Jim. He punched me in the face. My face hurts. And I don't know how, but my mom's friend, Jim, he somehow knew about what happened already. He was like, yeah, but like, come on, man. Like, you tackled the kid. You probably scared the shit out of him. He's 15. I think he learned his lesson, okay? Like, let's just let this one slide. And this guy did not want to do it. He's like, no, absolutely not. Like, he needs to learn his lesson. He did not learn it yet. Absolutely not. He punched me. And this dude essentially egoed him. Jim, this other cop, my mom's friend, he like egos this other cop. He's like, well, at the end of the day, like, I'm your higher up and this is how we're going to do it. Okay. And he just like completely shut up. I don't know what position Jim had in the police, but he must have been a real high up officer or something. He must have been like the head honcho because like the dude essentially got this officer to just shut up and like let me get away with it. And also this guy must have really liked my mom because the fact he was willing to like do such a big favor for her and like get me out of this, it was crazy to me. So after this, we all sat down in a circle and just kind of talked for a while about like my consequences because I still was going to get in a shit ton of trouble. I wasn't getting off scot-free. And essentially, I got suspended out of school for 2 days, and then I had to get moved to another school, essentially a school for misbehaved kids, and I had to go there for 2 weeks. And then after that, I can come back to school. And also, I had detention after school when I got back to my main school for 7 days. So yeah, me leaving school in the middle of the day like that, and then running and having that situation with that police officer, got me in quite a bit of trouble. But I'm going to say it could have been a lot worse. And I'm very lucky that my mom's friend got me out of it because I don't know what would have happened if he didn't. If I had to guess, I probably would have gotten like thrown in juvie over it, like juvenile detention or like probation or something. I don't know. Either way, it was wild. It was insane. And I got incredibly lucky. So yeah, guys, that leads me to the next point here. Moral of the story. Do not hit a police officer. Do not punch anybody. Even if you don't mean to hit them, like even if you're just swinging as a joke, don't do that because you might accidentally hit them and find yourself getting threatened with jail time. But yeah, guys, that's the end of the story time. Definitely one of the craziest instances of plot armor in the world, that's for sure. So guys, if you enjoyed this story time, please leave a like on the video. I would really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you all later. Peace.
I got a switchblade, bitch, and you know that it kills. I remember everybody telling me how to feel. I got love scars.